Hello and welcome to Inside Sports. I'm your host, Todd Blackstock. Did you know that the sport of futsal has been around since the 1930s and St. Louis has the second largest youth league in the United States? We'll tell you about this exciting sport with the executive director of the Gateway Futsal League, John Shorey. Plus, STL TV personality Ray Killebrew will be in studio to discuss his Hall of Fame cousin, Harmon Killebrew's legacy, his St. Louis ties, and a new book about the immortal baseball slugger. Plus, Gabby Douglas and the USA women's gold medal gymnastics teams are coming to the STL, and we had the scoop. So stick around for this and much more coming up next on Inside Sports. And welcome to the show. In our first segment today, we have a professor of communications from Missouri Baptist University, Ray Killebrew, in studio. Ray also hosts the popular show on STL TV called Going Like 60. And at this time, we'd like to welcome Ray Killebrew to Inside Sports. Ray, thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me, Todd.
Now, you've been at Missouri Baptist for some time now in the communications division, haven't you?
I'll be starting my 15th year in about 2 weeks.
Well, how about that? Right. Going Like 60 is a very popular show on STL TV. And before we talk about Harmon Killebrew, why don't you give us a little plug yourself and Going Like 60?
Okay. Going Like 60 is a little feature, maybe 5 minutes long. It's about people from St. Louis and the surrounding St. Louis area who are going like 60. What they're doing, Todd, they're just not baby boomers who are getting a pension now, but they're going out and living a third life.
You know, is it true that the new 60 is 50 now?
You know it is. And these Going Like 60 folks that I interview, and I guess we've done about 14 of them so far. Just a little nice little 5-minute and 10-minute features.
I like the one with Johnny Rabbit. That was my favorite. Oh. Talking about your cousin, Harmon Killebrew, I was joking with you one time walking through here. I was like, wow, are you related to Harmon Killebrew? And you were like, yes, I am. And at that point, I was like, salivating, hoping that someday I would get an opportunity to maybe meet Harmon and interview him, perhaps through you. But unfortunately, he passed away in May of 2011, so that's a big loss. But he sure has a tremendous story, doesn't he?
Yes, and I didn't even know I had a Harmon Killebrew as a cousin until about 1955. And I was reading the Post-Dispatch, St. Louis Post-Dispatch sports section, and I was at the kitchen table with my dad. I said, Dad, are we related to anyone called Harmon Killebrew? And he thought, you know what? Where's he from? And I said, Payette, Idaho. And he's signed up with the Washington Senators. Yeah. And my dad started thinking, he said, I wonder if that's Uncle Clay's son. I had an Uncle Clay who moved out to Payette, Idaho back in 1919. And sure enough, it was. So I was out in the Northwest then in 1955, and I looked up the family, got acquainted with my Aunt Kate, and by then my Uncle Clay had passed away, or my dad's Uncle Clay, and learned that Harmon was my second cousin once removed. Wow. So his grandfather was my great-grandfather. So we got acquainted there, and I followed his career. Not good friends, but followed his career for many, many years.
Now, we do have some old photos you provided us with, and maybe we could roll some of those in here in a second.
Okay.
We can maybe talk a little bit about some of the pictures there, right there.
By the way, Harmon's new book here mentions the folks that we see there in that picture. That's my great-grandfather, and that's my great-grandmother, Mary Miller. And
there's a shot of him right there.
Yeah, there he is signing autographs. He loved signing autographs. He loved kids. And there's the whole family, my great-grandfather, and that's Frances Weaver. That was his third wife. My great-grandfather married 3 times. And that's Harmon's father in that shot with his uncle. And that's my dad. With Harmon back, that was spring training back in the 1970s sometime.
No kidding.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's Harmon with my grandson. That's Greg Layton. And Greg, at that time, he was about 4 or 5 years old, I guess. And Harmon was here in town. He was signing autographs, and that's the last time I saw. That picture there is the last time that I visited with Harmon about a year and a half ago. And then he passed away in May, as you mentioned, in 2011.
Now, did you know he was sick the last time you met with him?
No, it was very sudden. It was cancer. It was esophagus cancer.
You know, it seems like from the point you connected with Harmon, you've got several pictures there, so you sort of kept in touch with him over the years.
Yeah, I was with Merritt's for many years. And they transferred me to Chicago, so we had an American League team, White Sox, and he played with the White Sox.
So that must have been perfect. Every time he came to town, did he ever hook you up?
I cornered him. I got balls autographed from my clients and saw some games too. And then we lived in Boston for a while too. So again, another American League team.
So I understand later on in his career, or later on in his life, he wouldn't sign autographs for you anymore. What was that?
Yes, I received a letter. Oh, this had to be when he went into the Hall of Fame. And it was a nice personal letter. And he signed it harm, but he said, you know what? I cannot sign your balls anymore for your clients.
I guess that's because of the rules of the Hall of Fame. Because that's kind of crazy, because I see Stan Musial still, and he's always signing, autographs and doesn't. Well, I don't think he ever charged for them. So
yeah, well,
that's probably the difference.
And that really became Harmon's main income in later years.
Well, let's look at some of Harmon Killebrew's statistics. 573 home runs, almost 1,600 RBIs. One of the probably 2 or 3 greatest Twins ever. Nicknamed Killer, 11 All-Star games, 1969 MVP, and a 1984 Hall of Fame inductee. His name's Killer probably for the way he hit the ball, not for the way he led his life.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about Harmon.
He was very quiet, easygoing, gentle type guy. There's a new book out. It's called Harmon Killebrew, The Ultimate Slugger, and it's written by Steve Ashburger. I think Steve Ashburger is from Chicago, pretty sure. And he has a whole chapter in here just on the family, by the way, the Killebrew family, and Culver Killebrew as well. But he talks about the friendships that Harmon made over the years, and the fact that he knew Stan Musial well, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah. And they went to Vietnam together.
No kidding.
Yes, and visited the troops together.
Now, did they go over there and play ball I don't
know whether they just went in those days just to meet the troop and sign autographs or not.
Early on in Harmon's career, he was a smoker. And, like many people, a lot of people chewed tobacco, many people didn't. But he was a smoker, and then later on in life, he turned the tables around and became anti-smoking.
Yes, he did. He stopped smoking in the 70s and then became a motivational speaker for non-smoking, right? Worked for SmithKline during that time. They sponsored his motivational speech.
In 1965, the Twins had a chance to play in the World Series. That must have been a very, very exciting time, but I think the Dodgers might have been a little too tough for them with Sandy Koufax and Drysdale and some of those guys, but nonetheless, the Twins and Senators were bottom feeders for many, many years, and along with the help of Harmon, I think he hit 30 home runs or more like 8 times in his career. He really helped ascend them up to a World Series appearance.
He did.
Another thing, his foundation is very important. I know that you feel it's very important to talk about the Killebrew Foundation and what it entitles.
Yes, and it's there only for the health of young people, to preach health for young people and the sport of baseball as well.
Now, his parents have his St. Louis ties, don't they, from when they got married back in the early...
in Clayton, Missouri, right.
Married in Clayton? How did they end up in Idaho?
The story is Harmon's dad was playing football for Millikan University, and they had a game somewhere here in the St. Louis area, and they just decided to go ahead and get married and go back home.
Now, your dad and grandfather had a pretty unique relationship, I understand, and can you maybe fill us in a little bit on that and the connection?
You mean from a standpoint of the family connection?
Yeah, the dad and your great-grandfather, how they were connected.
Oh, well, Harmon's dad was my dad's uncle. It would have been a half-uncle.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the connection is really, Harmon's father would have been my father's grandfather.
Okay, fantastic. And he's got a famous root beer named after him that's still really popular in Minnesota, isn't it? You want to show us that?
That's Killebrew root beer. It's sold up in Minneapolis.
Can you hold that up
and
for a second?
it is the root beer choice with the Minnesota team. They're distributed throughout the Midwest. So that's, by the way, that is my great-grandfather's recipe. He brewed root beer with honey. And Harmon's son, Ken Killebrew, manages the Killebrew root beer distribution.
Wow.
Right. Also, honey cream, too.
Honey cream as well.
Right,
So either one,
there you go.
Well, Ray, before we let you go, is there anything else you'd like to mention about Harmon Killebrew and his legacy, or anything about you?
Just the St. Louis connection, perhaps. The fact, or the Midwest connection. Now, here's a famous baseball player, comes from St. Louis, and very few people know of the St. Louis connection, and that it was from Nebo, Illinois, originally, up in Calhoun County, Missouri.
Well, fantastic. Well, Ray, thank you so much for joining us here on Inside Sports and sharing your story with us. And the gentle giant is kind of what I always thought of Harmon Killebrew. Is such a great guy, and he really packed a punch, no doubt about it.
That's right. He was going like 60 up until the day he died.
All right. Well, we're all going to miss him very much.
Okay.
All right. Well, during the 2012 Olympic Games in London, the U.S. women's team amazed the nation and the gymnastics world by striking gold multiple times. Well, you can see Gabby Douglas and the women's team at the Chaifetz Arena on the campus of St. Louis University on Friday, October 19th at 7:30 p.m. The event will also feature members of the men's team and past Olympic champions as well. For information, you can call 314-534-1111. Well, we're going to take a break now, but stay with us because when we return, we'll discuss the sport of futsal with the executive director, John Shorey. We'll be right back.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call or visit fatherhood.gov to learn more.
In times of peace and times of war, in times of joy and times of pain, we need them, they need us, and we need you. The USO, until everyone comes home.
There's a monster in the kitchen.
Keep innocent things from triggering an asthma attack. Learn how to stop their asthma attacks at noattacks.org.
Monsters can be anywhere.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. I'm your host, Todd Blackstock. Well, one of the things we like to do here on Inside Sports is showcase sports and people outside the mainstream. And right now, we're excited to have the executive director of the Gateway Futsal League in our studio. This time, we'd like to welcome John Shorey to Inside Sports. John, thanks a lot for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
You know, going back in time, you were a pretty great soccer player in college. I understand that you enjoyed a lot of success, especially with Florissant Valley. Tell us a little bit about your background in soccer.
Well, great would be too much credit. I was a pretty good soccer player, but I was fortunate enough to play on some great teams with some great players. So 1974, Florissant Valley with Pete Sorber, we did win the national championship. And then I actually graduated from Rockhurst, and there we were in the NAIE finals in my senior year, and we took second, which means we lost in the championship game, but we took second. And we also played in the finals, or in that tournament, my junior year too. Again, I was surrounded by great players. It wasn't me.
You know, some colorful characters too. Guys like Tony Piatoso from Cafe Napoli.
Yes.
How was he? Because he's quite a colorful character. Was he a pretty good soccer player as well?
Well, Tony, if you're watching, he was a great player. He came from Italy, and he had those skills that really a futsal player would come over from overseas with. He had those types of skills, skills that the American players just didn't see, didn't have. So he's very quick, knew what to do with the ball. Very good player. Very good forward.
You do see the difference, and American soccer has really come a long way. But when you see some of the other, the Spain and Argentina, Italy, you see some of these, they have different types of skills that Americans might be fast and have a lot of ability and things, but there's something that separates America from the ultra elite, and I think it's skills. And I think we can tie that in a little bit to futsal. What I know about futsal is it's a little bit of a derivative of soccer, and it's played on the indoor.
Right.
Now, as the executive director of the Gateway Futsal, can you maybe clue us in and give us some more information about the intricacies of futsal?
Well, sure. First of all, a futsal is actually a combination of two Portuguese words. So futebol, which we know means soccer, football, and then salão, which means indoor or salon. So it's indoor soccer. So futsal is really the true version of indoor soccer, founded back in 1930 in Uruguay. And it is what FIFA has declared, FIFA being the international governing body of football, that is declared as the sanctioned, approved indoor game. So again, this game has its foundations many years ago in South America. And the differences you see in the American players and then the South American and European players, particularly the Mediterranean European players, is their ability to work in very tight spaces, get out of trouble, maintain the ball, possess the ball. And it's those skills that they got from playing futsal at a very, very young age. So that's the difference. We're seeing more futsal being played in the United States. We're seeing more of these skills being developed by all the club teams and the various developmental teams. And I believe in a number of years you're going to be able to see those skills comparable to the South American and the Mediterranean Europeans.
Now, if it was founded in the 1930s, how long has it been going on in the St. Louis area, the United States, and where do you guys play it?
Well, the foundation of it is probably been around 25 years in the States, although it really didn't grow very quickly. Over the last 10 years, though, which is when my league started in St. Louis, it's grown exponentially. There is a FIFA World Cup, just like the outdoor World Cup of soccer, and that's going to be played in Thailand. So it's getting more and more attention from around the world, and with FIFA supporting it, it's getting on the menu of how to train players in the United States. But here in St. Louis, league's been going for 10 years. There was a very, very small league in St. Louis, and my friend ran the Kansas City Futsal League. And I said, well, if he can get 200 teams, me being in St. Louis, we could have 300 teams. Mm-hmm. So I decided to get into to developing the area. Never did quite beat him, because now he's got 280 teams. He is the largest futsal league, amateur futsal league in the country. But St. Louis comes in as the second largest league. We've had over 200 teams, which is about 2,000 youth players, for about the last 5 years. So it's a lot of marketing. It's a lot of talking to the coaches. But I give credit to the St. Louis coaches because of their culture. They're kind of first adapters. So they saw this game and they said, this is something that's going to help my players be better outdoor players. They adapted to it very quickly, and we've kind of become the poster child, St. Louis has, along with Kansas City, of how futsal can grow at the youth amateur level.
Now, one of the things is the ball's smaller. Can you maybe pick up the ball?
Sure, but not with my feet.
Okay, but the ball's a little bit smaller. What are some of the other different rules that separate that from soccer?
Well, here's the difference, and let's compare and contrast indoor soccer, the American indoor soccer. American indoor soccer plays with a normal size ball, which is a size 5. It'd be about that big. It has walls, and there's usually 6 players on the field. A lot of still physical play in the indoor game. With futsal, it's played on a hard, flat surface like a sport court, the all-purpose surface, or a hardwood court. And there's no out of bounds except for the lines. So there's no walls to play it off of. So if you think about that, a player has to move without the ball to be open, so the ball doesn't go out of bounds. So at a very early age, these soccer players who come in, and even though they play futsal maybe only 3 times, they learn to get open. The game teaches.
So this game, futsal, actually makes you a better soccer player.
It does.
And I understand that many of the great soccer players train doing this in the off season because it gets those like exceptional skills up to speed. Who are some of the famous soccer players that play futsal or played throughout their careers, maybe even in the off season?
Well, they actually play all year round. And I'll give you an example. In Brazil, there are more registered futsal players than outdoor soccer players. Okay. The reason is because to play outdoor in Brazil, they have a shortage of fields. But you only begin to choose outdoor as you become good enough to be into the academy system of the professional teams. So all these youth players are playing in gyms, on the street, and they learn futsal. So that's what they learn. That's why they're so good. But the great players who have played futsal as youth would be Cristiano Ronaldo. Wow. Everybody knows him from Portugal. He's on Real Madrid. Then you've got Lionel Messi, the Argentinian.
Messi?
Yes, who's of course everybody knows, Barcelona. And then Ronaldinho, who also was on Barcelona, but he's a Brazilian. He has his foundations in futsal. Even Pele. For guys my age, wow. We all remember Pele. And there's a list. They all have played futsal, and that's where they got their skills.
Now, you brought some pictures. You know what some of those things you were going to mention? Was it just a little bit of the style of play, or what do you want to show us?
Oh, well, the pictures would be I brought some pictures of the professional players. The other photos I brought were merely youth players that were playing in our national tournament. So we have 40 leagues, we being the United States Futsal. Okay. We have 40 leagues around the country, and I'm the director of development on a national basis for all those leagues. So all those leagues have started. You know, I had a hand in helping them get going, marketing and running their leagues.
We only had another minute or so left, but where in St. Louis are the futsal leagues played? What ages, and who can participate?
8 to 18 is basically the youth playing. These are mostly club players, so when they come in from the outdoor, they come indoor, play around December through March.
So there's some of the more elite players.
Elite club players for most. There are some recreational players, but it's mostly a little higher level type of player that likes this type of game. But we play in St. Charles, we play in St. Louis County, we play all over the place. On any given Saturday during that time, I have 100 games that will go on during that day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So before we let you go, is there anything else you'd like to mention about futsal? And if not, how can someone participate, and what contact information should they look up?
Well, registrations will open up on September 1st, and go to the website, www.gatewayfutsal.com. Has all the registration information, when we start, where we play. And if you need more info on futsal and how it benefits you, go to the website, and there's some information there also.
Well, John, thanks a lot for taking time out on your busy day to come on Inside Sports, and we really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Well, the St. Louis Rams have a new sheriff in town, head coach Jeff Fisher. He, along with new GM Les Snead, are attempting to bring the Rams back to the glory days when they actually defeated Fisher's Tennessee Titans in the Super Bowl following the 1999 season. Fisher and Snead wasted no time revamping the roster, implementing extreme confidence, and going out on a limb for a few players during free agency and this year's draft. Right now, we're going to go hit the streets of St. Louis and find out what the fans think of the Rams' new coach, GM, and predictions for this year's team. Let's take a look.
I can't wait. I'm a huge Rams fan, and I can't wait until they start playing.
I think it's going to be awesome. Go Rams.
All right, what do you think about the Rams?
We'll be there to cheer them on. Hopefully we bring home a couple wins.
I'm just taking a wait and see approach.
Well, let's see. Getting better from how many wins did they have last year? I think they could probably win another game or two, sure.
What's your prediction for the Rams?
Hopefully better than last year. I think they're going to be great in the Super Bowl.
Are you excited about the Rams?
Hopefully in the next decade they'll get better. I would love for St. Louis to have a better team, but I don't think they're going to do terribly well yet this year.
Like I said, I'll start off with the first game, see how it goes, and just see what happens. Who knows? We could have another 1999, but I doubt it.
I am so excited. I tell you, I'm feeling a buzz about it. Seriously, I am. I can't wait to see what happens this year.
I think they're going in the right direction. I think all we got to do is pull together and just, basically just cheer them on. They've been through a long struggle through these years, and I feel that this upcoming year is going to be an awesome year.
What do you think about the new draft class? I mean, we got a lot of new players in, we signed some free agents, but they kind of went out on a limb and took a chance on some of these guys that could really pay off.
Well, that's what you want to do, and that's where your potential come in with your players. You have other marquee players that are also on that team, don't forget that. Then you also have the history of the Rams. They've been to the Super Bowl twice. So you have potential all around their team. So it all depends if they gel together this time around, it should show. They've been there, they get marquee players along with inexperienced players. They get the chance to play and show their talent. There you have it.
Who's your favorite player?
Bradford.
Like Bradford?
Yeah, he's cute. Probably Danny Amendola.
Amendola. So who's your favorite player?
Danny Amendola.
Why do you like him?
He's so scrappy. He's good.
I'm really excited for them because, you know, they needed something to really someone to get in there and give them some new energy, and I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a great season for them, and I'm pumped.
Because with the new coach, you got a lot of experience, and he's been there before. So is that you get the players behind you, with the players behind you to support, as well as other potential players, the new players, as well as the rookies. If you get all of them to gel together, as well as they listen to the coach philosophy, and the chemistry comes out on the field, you shouldn't have any problem.
You're not a Rams fan? How come?
Because I live in Canada.
Oh, okay.
I'm an Argo fan,
fan?
which is CFL.
With the Fish, man, I think we're going to do it. I think this is going to be our comeback year. I know we're going to have a winning season.
So hopefully that they learn from the mistakes, capitalize, play together with unity, and they should come through.
Me, myself, I just can't wait to go to the game. Now, I know I work here at the Wainwright Building, so going to the game is just going to be easy and it's going to be fun, and I'm just here to have fun and have a ball and root the Rams on because it's their time.
Woo, go Rams!
Well, it seems like the fans are very excited about this new regime and their ability to bring the Rams back to prominence. The front office had announced several promotions, including a Jeff Fisher collectible mustache for the home opener against the Redskins. That'll be Sunday, September 16th. And on Sunday, September 30th against the Seahawks, the first 10,000 kids under 14 will receive a James Laurinaitis bobblehead doll. So get to that one early. Well, that's our show for today. We'd like to thank our studio guests and a special guest of Paul Newberry for building our new set and Artiga Photos for providing the wonderful picture of the arch and the St. Louis skyline. Thanks for watching Inside Sports. We'll see you next time.